Welcome to the Shout Out with Sage show. Shout Out with Sage.
Shout me out.
And that's all I gotta say. So shout out and let's go.
I'm just waiting for the screen.
Okay, hi.
Hi, welcome to Streaminn HUBB Radio. I'm Sage Stevens, the host of Shout Out with Sage. And to give you some background and premise for the show, it is to give gratitude and acknowledgement to those people who have come into our lives and helped us reach the next level of success. And today, I have a guest who is a multifaceted individual, a former Miss Oregon and Miss USA finalist, who is an entrepreneur, motivational speaker, actress. She was selected over 1.2 million candidates to star as a contestant on The Apprentice, which most of us know. Mm-hmm. And she has currently acquired financing for her first feature film, which begins production this fall. I'd like to welcome today to Shout Out with Sage, the effervescent Jennifer Murphy.
Thank you so much, Sage. I'm so excited to be here.
Glad to have you. You do so many things. I don't really know where to start. I'm thinking maybe
I don't know where to start.
Pardon?
Sometimes I don't know where to start every day. Like,
exactly.
But with me, it's all connected. I do a lot of different things, but it all comes from the same center and the same purpose. So that helps.
And what is your purpose?
My purpose is, I have a little sun chart here, my cheat sheet. Jen is on a mission to ignite joy, spread smiles, and empower. So especially empowering girls and women, but spreading smiles to anyone, anywhere. And I do that in a lot of different ways with Go Girl Worldwide, entertainment, exploration, education, comedy, and my YouTube videos, music, and now a movie coming out, and events and Go Girl seminars. And yeah, sometimes I help other companies with their own marketing, but I'm to the point now where Go Girl's been around since 2008, and I'm really finally hitting my stride, and I'm able to focus more on my own projects and building Go Girl globally. So I'm really super thankful and excited to be at this chapter.
And so it's all over the world, like how many countries? So then you have it in different languages and stuff?
So I recently launched Go Girl Worldwide magazine. So I always wanted a magazine ever since I started Go Girl. And about 3.5, 4 years ago, we launched the magazine. And for example, a woman like Mina, who's become a good friend of mine, she's an amazing woman who represents what a Go Girl is all about. Someone not only achieving their goals and dreams, but also paying it forward and helping other women do the same. And Mina is the chairman of the board for the Asia Pacific Famous Female Federation. It's a tongue twister, but she has an organization that helps people all over the world through their charity work and their working with women and different governments. And so she has millions of followers. So when someone like this is featured in my magazine, they share it with all of their women. So that's really been helping to make it go viral. And then
broaden your sphere of acknowledgement. Yes.
Yeah, Elena Cardone, she really gave us a great shout out when we featured her on the cover. So, it's great featuring other women like that. Also with my YouTube videos, some have gone really viral, and I'm always Go Girl in my YouTube videos with a pink cape and driving my kids Barbie.
Yes, I watched some of those. They're very, very funny. It's very entertaining. So where did you get the idea to do all this?
Well, I met Mother Teresa when I was a little girl, and I'd like to give her a shout out from way back then. I was about 7, and I met her in front of a cathedral in San Francisco, and she was about my height at the time. My grandmother said, "Penny, I want you to meet Mother Teresa." She knew Mother Teresa, and Mother Teresa, she gave me a hug. She looked in my eyes, and she said, "You're beautiful, and you have the love of God inside of you, and you can help spread joy to a lot of people." And that really made an impact on me. And I watched Mother Teresa, and her work with the Sisters of Charity, and I thought, gosh, that's amazing. And I just, someone like her planted this seed in my mind and my heart that really, if you lead with love, anything's possible. I've had other people have big influences on my life. I'm one of 12 kids, second to the oldest.
Wow, that's a lot.
So anything I've wanted in life, I have to really work at it because it was never handed to me. The entrepreneurial dad who taught me business, and I had my own tool belt when I was a teenager, and I learned business and sales, and had a lot of great business mentors. And I would listen to Tony Robbins and read Donald Trump's books.
Right.
And, Rich Dad Poor Dad.
Robert Kiyosaki. I think that's his last name. Yes.
My first at 21, thanks to his inspiration. And I've had a lot of ups in my life. A lot of great things happened that I worked for. But then I've also had the other side of it where, I make some choices that didn't end up being the right ones, or, I would not change anything. I think some of the challenges have helped form who I am, and I wouldn't trade those. But at the time it was hard. I married the wrong guy. I grew brokenhearted. I ended up getting a divorce, and I lost everything at the time, and I had lost my spirit, and I questioned my worth and lost my confidence, and
I was reading that you were a little depressed like during your divorce. So how did you overcome that with,
So that's where, I know you said you can give some shout outs to people, maybe one or maybe multiple. And I thought there are so many people that help me, inspire me with business and with life. But one person that was really pivotal for me, and this is what helped me heal from a bad marriage and feeling lost and confused, and kind of without a purpose, without a direction. I took a course by someone named Kevin McCarthy. He's the author of The On Purpose Person, and he has books and workbooks and courses that you can take, and then he teaches his own in-person seminars. And so I took a full day course with him, and he helps the small group. You all go through what your personality traits are, your habits, your interests, your likes, what your goals are, or what they maybe used to be before you got beaten down.
Yes, I've been in a couple relationships as well, and sometimes when you're in them or when you leave them, you're not. It takes a while to find yourself again. Yeah. So.
Right. So he really helps you take a look at all of that, and then you do different worksheets, and you start figuring out what the best use of your skills are, if anything was possible, and what you love to do as a kid. And anyway, by the end of the day, he helps you not only maybe discover or rediscover your purpose or kind of realign with it, but he helps you also whittle that purpose down to 2 words. And
2 words? Just 2 words?
Because it's something that you will not forget. You will wake up every morning and go to sleep every night knowing what your 2 words are. It's just succinct, it's to the point, and everybody's words are different. And I think it's an adjective and a noun. And mine was igniting joy in others, spreading smiles. And, I'd taken comedy, and after my business career and being on The Apprentice, I dove into entertainment, and I loved comedy. And my teacher said, "Jen, do that. You're really funny." And I grew up making my siblings laugh, and a dad that always told jokes and said,
where are you in your family? Are you in the middle, at the end, one of the ends? Or?
I'm second to the oldest. So I'm like a second mom, and I always had a baby on my hip, and making food and taking care of them, but having fun with them and build tree forts, and grew up in Southern Oregon, so a great childhood, a lot of laughs. And so when I was looking at, okay, my purpose is to ignite joy, all of a sudden that did ignite something in me, and it reminded me that I do have a purpose. And even though I had maybe made some twists and turns and fell down, but I got back up, and I'm like, okay, now I'm going to lead with this purpose, but what am I going to do with it? And at the time, since I needed to, get an income coming in quick, I got a sales job for a big company and started making really great commission checks. But I thought, okay, this isn't it.
It's not fulfilling. So the corporate world wasn't fulfilling for you. You didn't find satisfaction.
At that chapter, I had done the corporate world, and then I did the entertainment world, and I knew there was something that I needed to do with all of this. I thought, if I could fall that far, if I could have been, I was top 10 at Miss USA, got on The Apprentice, had all the success, and then I felt so broken, like Miss Oregon's going to end up under a bridge. Fortunately.
Why was that? Let's sort of delve into that a little bit. Why were you feeling that way?
I had lost my health going through I felt very depressed in my marriage. I felt invisible, alone, in this Hollywood kind of crazy, meeting celebrities and going to red carpets, yet feeling so empty and being confused about that. And that would be
like everyone would think that would be the time you should be so happy. So why were you not happy?
I think when you give your heart, your soul to someone, and then you feel like, wait a second. And I had a really big wedding, and I'm from a very traditional family, and I went against their wishes and judgment. And so I was feeling a little like, I can't believe this is a big decision. I turned down job offers from Donald Trump. I turned down other opportunities, and I'm an all-in kind of person. And so when you end up feeling like you've been taken advantage of, like you've been duped, that feeling of, wow, like that really, it hurts your heart so deep. And so I was heartbroken, really. And I also knew that if I left, I would be saying goodbye to my 3 beautiful stepdaughters that I just loved. They had become like my daughters, and it was a tough thing. And so losing my health, and then losing my house in the crash right when I was,
Oh, wow. So in 2007 was that?
Right.
Yeah.
Right. At the same time I was getting a divorce. So moved out of a mansion, ended up on a payphone. I couldn't even pay my cell bill. I mean, this was really.
Well, you're lucky it didn't happen now. There are no payphones. I don't know where you would go to find a payphone these days. So.
I don't know. My goodness. So I'd just be hitchhiking back up to Oregon, I guess. But my dad, I called him from a payphone, and I said, Dad, would you take, would you help me out? Maybe, loan me for a plane ticket. He said, Jenny Jo, you're my little girl. You'll always be my little girl. I'm going to come drive down right now and pick you up and bring you back to Oregon, and we're going to give you some love and some support. It still chokes me up. And he did. He drove 12 hours straight, and I got in his pickup truck, and we had a great time. And, just reconnecting with people that really love you and your childhood and memories, and singing and laughing. That's food for the soul.
Well, sometimes you need to sort of go back to your foundation and regroup and have that support. Yeah.
Right. Nothing against, I love dressing up. I put on Go Girl pink carpet events all the time. I love rubbing shoulders with celebrities when I can, but I'm so glad that I got to learn that is not what life's all about, and that's not enough to feed your soul. And so all of that combined was the inspiration for me to say, if that could happen to me, and here I had all of these incredible mentors and coaches and support and family, it could happen to anyone. And so many girls are born into complete poverty or complete abuse or terrible.
They don't have education. They don't have access to education or books, or they can't even read. So I couldn't imagine that. Yeah.
Right. Or even, a woman in another later chapter in her life, something can always happen, throw us off. So I thought, there's all these motivational groups and seminars and speakers. And at the time there were mostly men that were being, on stage doing all of that. And I thought, what about a movement for girls and women? And I can be kind of the ringleader leading the way and bring other amazing women that are smarter in a lot of ways than I am, but I can help showcase their knowledge, their education, empower women to money. I learned also, I mean, money does not buy happiness, but you definitely need it. And if you are broke, that is no fun. So we've got to have that balance. So that's what Go Girl's all about.
Cool. And how did you end up on The Apprentice, to sort of jump to another subject? Because I mean, I see how everything sort of flows together, like different opportunities you've had. So
sure. And I see I'm so flushed right now. Let me find it's this heat wave going through.
Yeah, I know. It's like I usually have more lights myself, but today I haven't.
I've left it over there. Can I be right back?
Yeah, sure. Go ahead. I don't want you to like be thirsty.
There we go. I just don't want our viewers seeing a sweaty mess here over here.
Welcome to the Shout Out with Sage show. Shout Out with Sage.
Shout me out.
And that's all I gotta say. So shout out and let's go.
Okay, and we're back.
All right.
Because it's really hot in LA. For those of you that don't know, it's like, I don't know, what's the temperature, 100 and something, and we're under lights and we're getting a little heated. So definitely.
And of course, you know, walking through memory lane, that always brings up some emotions. And
right. Yes. Thank you for going there for us. I appreciate that. Yeah.
Well, now that I shared some heavy stuff, but also inspirational, some fun memory of getting on The Apprentice. I always dreamt of becoming Miss Oregon ever since I met Miss Oregon, Patricia Linus. She came and she spoke at our church youth group, and she had this little suit on and a little briefcase. She spoke to our group about going for your goals and dreams and making it happen. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I want to be like her. Like, I really want to be like her. And I ended up hiring her to train me to speak better, to be able to sing and dance and do like a Broadway number, and to know some of what it takes to be a successful beauty queen, pageant winner. And she really taught me a lot about visualizing the goal and visualizing that crown already on your head, or whatever it is that you want. Visualize that you already have it, and have that, you know. And so she taught me a lot, and it took me a few tries, but I finally did become Miss Oregon. And when I went to Miss USA, at the time, The Apprentice was my favorite TV show to watch. It was newly launched, and I was a business go-getter. And so, and I knew Donald Trump also owned Miss USA, Miss Universe. And when we were getting ready to go on stage, live, NBC, it was, which place? One of the big Hollywood live film studios with a huge live audience. And they said, okay, right before the show starts, Trump will be coming through, and all the ladies can meet him for a few minutes. And then, well, I had made my own dress, and I was a little late.
Wow.
I made a dress. Oh my gosh, you know, but it was beautiful, even though it only cost me about $100. And I was adding a few last minute beads to it, and my hair wasn't working out. And so I was running late, and the women had already said hi to Trump, and then last call for the stage. And I'm like, oh no, I'm late. So I grab my heels and I run barefoot, and I run right into Donald Trump. And I said, sorry, Mr. Trump.
Oh my God.
He said, who are you? And I said, I'm Miss Oregon, but I'm late for a pageant. I got to run. And so off I ran, and he's standing there with his security guard laughing. But he, after the pageant ended, we were all on stage, and he came up, and he came right up to me, and he said, you were my favorite, but I can't get involved with the judging.
Of
and
course.
I said, well, yeah. And I said, well, I would love to be on The Apprentice. I'm a businesswoman. And he said, you'd be great. Here's my card. Call me. I'll make sure it happens. Well, blonde moment, I lost his card at the party that night. And I ended up having to try out, you know, with over 1 million people get on the show.
Oh, wow. So that's a lot. And
I went back to Oregon, yeah, and my boyfriend was like, "You're not doing it. You're not trying out." And he was very controlling, and 7-year-long relationship. And I was like,
right.
"Okay, it's either
That happens. I've been in a few of those where men aren't always supportive, and then some men are. With so you were on The Apprentice, and you have Go Girl, but then recently when we first met, you were mentioning how you have a feature film, and you just recently got funded. Why don't we talk about that a bit?
Sure, I'd love to. I should have printed out I already started the marketing, creating some potential movie posters and photo shoots. I love making my funny videos, and I have made many music videos, original songs that also have positive or messages in them. And one of them that went the most viral is called I Want to Be Ninja, where it's based on this storyline and based on a realistic story that I have a friend who impersonates Mr. Chow off The Hangover. And he said, "Please write me into one of your projects." And so I created this song, and I wrote it for a music video, and I published the song, and it went wildly viral over the last 5 years. And it's up to a few 100 million views on TikTok. And the music video is very popular. Podcasting comedians showcase it on their shows, and it's just gotten a lot of traction. And it's a really fun storyline where Go Girl is trying to spread smiles, and Chow, the villain, the ninja, he keeps trying to stop her. He's like the Grinch. Something happened to him when he was a kid, and his heart kind of broke, and he just can't stand seeing anybody else happy. So he's trying to stop Go Girl, and Go Girl is trying to keep him from stopping her, and she decides she needs to become a ninja and take him down. And they become friends in the end, and it's a happy ending, but it's going to be hilarious, kind of campy, kind of like Austin Powers-ish. With
Austin Powers is great. It's funny, yes.
Super kid friendly.
Sort of like a parody of sorts. And what else do you have going on so you have your Go Girl, you have your film. Is there anything else we should be aware of?
Well, with Go Girl, there's so many components. For example, the inside front cover, you see just some of the different events and activities, and always pink carpet parties involved. And so I'm always putting on events. I'll be doing a Go Girl Empowerment Experience event at my studio here in Newport Beach in a couple months.
What's that like? When you say an empowerment event, what type of activities do you do?
Okay, I'm getting all sweaty here again. I turned my fan on, but it's too loud. So with the Go Girl Empowerment Experience, Go Girl seminars, I bring in different speakers and experts, about beauty and health and fitness and building their business, branding, finding your purpose, finding your voice, stage fright, all of these women and some great men as well. I love our great Go guys. So I always have a couple guys in the mix that also would bring something that's educational and empowering. And then I sprinkle in different performers and talent and fun and surprises. And so it makes for a really great event. Sometimes they're one-day events. Sometimes they're a 2-day event. I interview guests on my Jennifer Murphy Go Girl show, and I will embed those videos into the article I make for them in the magazine. And I do other special events, sometimes for little girls. Yeah, but the movie is going to be, I have a few Go Girl events happen over the course of the next 3 months, but the bulk of my focus will be the movie, getting it out, marketing it, but tapping into the 300 million views on TikTok I already have. I think I'm really excited about this, and I think it could turn into just an ongoing, like a trilogy or
right, a big franchise or something. Yes, exactly. So we're gonna be wrapping up in a few minutes. So I want to know who who else has helped you on your journey to success? Is there anyone else that you would like to give a shout out to?
Yeah, well, actually, my journey to success, right after starting Go Girl, I attended the Maria Shriver's women's conference in Long Beach, back when Maria Shriver was doing these big conferences. And I think there were 40,000 women attending, all of these speakers, and I thought, I want to go and get ideas, and maybe I can learn from that and apply some of that to Go Girl. But they were sold out. And so I created a press, like a little card, as if I was a publisher or producer. I had done some hosting, but
fake it till you make it.
I did. I showed up and I got in with the press badge with my camera guy, and I went in there and I started interviewing people. Even Condoleezza Rice was there, and I got some other great people on camera. And then this guy was walking through, and I had my Go Girl pink microphone, and he said, "Who are you? What's Go Girl?" And I said, "I'm Go Girl." And Go Girl, I'm telling him all about it. And I had only put on one little event so far. And he said, "Well, I'm Stuart Johnson, and I'm the CEO, founder of Success Magazine, Success Books, Success Events, and also Video Plus, which is a company to create marketing materials for a lot of the network marketing companies all through the world." Man is success. He is just an amazing man and works with a ton of speakers and amazing self-help people, entrepreneurs, and his Success Magazine itself. I'm like, this is amazing. And so he said, I'm going to send you some magazines and books you can use at your upcoming events, put them in the swag bag, anything that I can do to help as far as mentorship. And he really was an inspiration for me. I went and visited like the big manufacturing plant and got to know how his magazine company worked and some of the ways you can monetize a magazine. So I would say Stuart Johnson, he became a friend as well. And
Great.
So thank you. Have you ever seen this?
How can people find out more about Go Girl or find you online or the internet?
Sure. JenniferMurphy.com has links to all of my websites. I'm also the co-founder of Viral Video Media Group. I forgot to mention that. So you would see that on there. My Go Girl magazine website is on there, gogirlmgz.com, which you can subscribe for free, and you'll get each issue in your email box digitally.
So it's a digital magazine then, yeah.
It's digital mostly. We do some print. Print is extremely expensive, and most people are on their devices these days. But I love print. I'm old school. So we have some print available, hopefully more. I'd love to have it in Barnes and Noble and different actual, bookstores and boutiques. So I'm actually working on a local version for Corona Del Mar, California, to test out a localized version that we would have the copies available.
Well, actually, speaking of that, I can see that we have a couple comments here, and one person, Robert Miller's, commented that, "What a great guest. Jennifer is an icon in Newport Beach in Orange County and well known for her efforts to empower women."
What's his name
that was
again?
a comment. Robert Miller.
Robert Miller. Hi, Robert. I probably know you. I'm bad with names. Sorry.
So I'm just reading some of the comments we have. So yeah. So that was one of them. So cool.
Yeah, when I first moved to Newport Beach about 10 years ago, they're like, "Who is this crazy chick that drives a kid's Barbie Jeep?" And go girl, go girl, go girl. But yeah, they've gotten to know me by now. They know I'm not changing. This one guy that, we were starting to date, he said, "No, when are you going to put that Jeep away?" I said, "Never. That's the point. That's what makes it funny."
It looks like fun. I watched some of your videos. They look very entertaining.
Thanks.
And with that, I would like to thank you for being here today on Shout Out with Sage on Streaminn Hub Radio. And thank you so much. I'm so glad we sat beside each other at that event and we started chatting with one another.
I know, that was meant to be. And
a serendipitous moment, right?
Absolutely. Thank you for giving a wonderful platform for people to talk about their, their journey, but also to give shout outs to the people that made a difference. I think that's important, and it's a wonderful thing that you do. So you go, girl.
Thank you. Yes, gratitude is an attitude. That's sort of my, I guess I have to get it down to 2 words, but gratitude is an attitude. So I have 4. So.
Oh, I mean, that's close enough.
Yeah. Cool. Okay. Well, thanks so much. Have a great day. Try to stay cool.
I will. You too.
Okay.
Welcome to the Shout Out with Sage show. Shout out with Sage.
Shout me out.
And that's all I gotta say. So shout out and let's go.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to Shout Out with Sage. I'm your host, Sage Stevens, and we are on Streaminn HUBB Radio. I just finished my last interview, so please just let me get organized here for my second interview here with Nikki. And okay, here we go. So today I am delighted to have a comedian, a 2-time Emmy-nominated producer, published author, actor, and director. She has produced and written Labor and Delivery on TLC, Women Docs for Lifetime, This Far by Faith, and African American Spiritual Journeys on PBS. And she is author of Soul Smarts for Day Starts, 31 Days of Creative Inspiration and Activities. And today I would like to welcome Nikki Bailey.
Hi Sage. Thanks for having me. I'm happy to be here.
Thank you. Thank you. So are we trying to stay cool? Everyone's trying to stay cool here in LA. Are you in LA?
I'm in Pasadena, where it is 103 degrees right now. And so I'm doing my best to stay cool. I have on the air conditioner and a fan. So it's a struggle, but we're doing it.
And you're a comedian presently, is that correct?
I am a comedian, among other things, but I love doing comedy.
And how did you get into comedy? What made you decide to do that?
I moved to LA and I was working on my acting career, and I was kind of disillusioned with the options that were available for a fat Black chick. There just weren't a lot of options available for acting roles. And I was like, how can I perform material that I love, that I care about, and get to have some control over what I'm saying and what I'm performing.
Yeah, like the message you're doing.
Exactly, yeah. And people have always told me that I was funny, and I'm like, well, let me try the stand-up comedy thing. So I took a class on stand-up comedy.
Oh, where did you go? Where did you go?
I took a class with a man named Jerry Katzman here in LA. He teaches these really great 12-week courses on how to do stand-up comedy. And it's funny because a lot of comics frown on taking classes, but taking a class was like a really great experience for me. I developed my first 5-minute set and have been doing it.
I would think that would be so daunting and scary. I don't know. I took an acting class and we did some comedy, and that was like the scariest part for me.
So I have to tell you, Sage, stand-up can be terrifying. The first time that I ever did it, I threw up right before. And one of the things I will say, Steve Martin said that he would get nervous every single time he needed to perform. And I'm the same way. I still get nervous. I still get,
butterflies and like that anxiety.
Exactly. Yeah, I still get that every single time. But I still love it.
And you are a 2-time Emmy-nominated producer, correct?
I am.
And go with that.
I was nominated for 2 Mid-Atlantic Emmy Awards for my work on some PBS specials about the Philadelphia mayoral election of 1999. That's how old I am. But
in LA, we won't tell anyone that is not beneficial here at all.
So I was nominated for 2 Emmy Awards for that work, and that was really exciting. Yeah.
And how did, like, so you had to do research and you wrote for that, and was it
Actually,
a series or just a film, or?
research was actually my primary job in that production.
Mm.
We were the race was between a man named Katz. I can't remember his first name, and you know what? I'm not going to even try to remember the name of the mayoral candidates. It's
Yeah,
been so long.
it's been a while, right?
Yeah, but a lot of what I was doing was research about these candidates. A lot of sort of following the candidates around and sort of learning about their lives, learning about their platforms, and I provided a lot of the research and background information for the production, so that the producers and the other writers and the hosts would know what questions to ask in interviews.
Right. Okay. That's always important. Maybe I need some help myself. And how did that opportunity come about for you, like to be a producer on that show?
I actually started there as an intern working for the PBS station in Philadelphia. I started as an intern, got promoted to a production assistant, and then got promoted to an associate producer.
And how did you get the intern job?
I just applied.
You were just applying.
They were looking for interns. I was finishing my last year of film and TV school, and I applied, and voila, they chose me. And I ended up staying there for a few years and getting to work in television and work on some really great productions.
What was your favorite part about that job?
You know, it was really exciting to get to be a part of Philadelphia history as it was happening. We were really a part of sort of telling the story of these candidates and learning about why their candidacies were so important for Philadelphia at the time. And it was just a real joy to know that I was contributing to the news, you know, like that I was getting to be part of telling these stories of these men one of whom, you know, became mayor and had an illustrious and occasionally scandalous career. And I got to be a part of telling those stories.
There has to be a scandal somewhere, right?
Yeah.
It's boring if there's no scandal.
Exactly, right?
And for someone wanting to get into entertainment or like into producing, what would you give them as a big piece of advice?
If you're in college, I would say get an internship. Make sure you do an internship. It's nice to have that on your resume, so you graduate with some experience already on your resume. And sometimes those jobs actually lead to real jobs, to full-time jobs. I would say get as much experience as you can. Volunteer. Create your own media productions. You know, anybody with an iPhone or a decent phone nowadays can create a short film. There's no reason for you to wait for someone to hire you. Go ahead and make your own projects.
And with we're going to go back to your comedy. With your comedy, what do you talk about in your shows? Like what is it, observational, or you're making fun of people, or what are you doing?
I don't make fun of people. I have a Master of Divinity degree, so I went to seminary and studied to become clergy. Okay. And ultimately decided that being clergy was not the right thing for me. I'm way too lefty, and I'm way too out there and way too outspoken to be a clergy person. I forgot the question. Oh, I went to seminary. And I was raised in a religious household. So I do a lot of comedy about religion and about church. But I also do comedy like about just sort of observational things and experiences that I've had. You know, I talk about my partner. I talk about dating. I talk about
dating in LA.
Dating in LA is a drama right there. It's worthy of a comedy routine or 20. It's its own special kind of torture. Yes.
So yeah, dating in LA is quite the quite the drama, I have to say myself. So it's always It's always interesting. So you've sort of bounced around a bit. What's your favorite thing? Like, or is there one? Are you just like, you go with opportunities as they arise?
I don't even have a favorite thing. Like, I do so many things. I write, I direct, I act, I do comedy. And I do all of them all the time. So I have a podcast. So I feel like I'm a multi hyphenate. So I do a number of different things, and I don't concentrate on just one because I'm so multifaceted. I'm the kind of person who has to have 2 or 3 projects going on at one time to be happy. And like I like to keep myself busy in my creative work.
And you said you're a director. I think when we met, you were talking about a film you just did.
Yeah, I just wrote, directed, and starred in my first short film. It's actually not my first short film. I made another film in college, but that was a long time ago. This is my first short film, of the 21st century. And
we don't talk about age on here.
Okay, so I'm not talking about age. But it's called The Crossroad, and it's about a woman who goes to the crossroad to save the life of her child, and she meets a man there who has the power to save her baby's life, but he does so in exchange for the mother's soul.
Okay.
And so it's about making these really difficult decisions about what to do with your life when you're faced with trauma, when you're faced with difficulty. It's about, choosing love and choosing life, in spite of all of the things that come at you.
And what was your motivation for creating that? Like, where did that story come from? Or
the story came from my mom died 17 years ago, and and I always wondered to myself if there was something I could do to save her life, right? Like, is there something I could have done? And if someone had given me the option, if there had been someone I could say, I'll give you my soul in exchange for my mom's life, I would have done it. I don't think she would have let me do it, but I would have wanted to give up give up me for her if I could have. Well, I don't know if that's true, but I know I would have wanted to save my mom's life if I could have. And so that was sort of the motivation behind it. And it was also a really interesting way to sort of revisit losing my mother. And
was it cathartic then? Like, sort of?
It really was. It was really cathartic. It helped me sort of come to peace with some things that I had been holding on to. It helped me forgive myself and forgive some of the guilt that I felt about not being able to save my mom.
May I ask what she passed away from?
Yeah, she had a surgery, and from that surgery developed an infection, and she never recovered from the infection.
Okay. So you just, like, how did you feel guilty about that?
I felt guilty because at the time that she was going through this, I lived in another city and I couldn't come home and stay with her. My brother lived in the house with my parents, so he was able to be there and help take care of them. But I felt guilty because I didn't come home to take care of my mom, and so this film really helped me manage some of that guilt and helped me sort of put that away and let go of that, and it was really cathartic.
How many minutes is the film? You said it was a short film.
It's a short film. It's a little under 14 minutes.
Okay. And how long did it take you to do that?
We shot it over a weekend, but the pre-production process was 3 or 4 months. It was a really condensed production schedule. So I think I did the whole thing in about 6 months, between pre-production, production, and post-production. And
what do you hope to do with it? Like, are you going to do the film festival circuit, or what are you?
That's what I'm working on now. It's currently being color corrected, and then as soon as it's done with that, I'm going to be submitting it to some festivals. So hopefully we'll be seeing my film in with some festival laurel in the poster sometime soon.
Cool. Yes, that's a whole you make your film, and then the festival circuit's another thing on top of that. I used to work for Film Independent and for IFP. Well, it's now known as the Gotham in New York. So that was a big part of my job, was helping people with the film festival circuit. And we also had our own film festivals. And what do you hope to, so do you want to make this short film into a feature film? What are you hoping from your short film?
The short film's going to stay alone, but my hope is that it shows that I can write and direct and act, and that it's it's a great sample of my work.
Right.
So I'm hoping that it leads to more opportunities to make more films, the opportunity to write, direct, and star in other projects. And I'm just hoping that it helps sort of it becomes kind of a calling card for me, so I can say, hey, I'm also a filmmaker. Voila, look at this thing I just made.
Right. With your writing, how is that for you? Because I write as well, and that can be a love-hate relationship. How's your relationship with writing?
I always say that I am most myself when I write, that is the most authentically me that I am, is that I ever am, is when I'm writing. And being in your authentic self 24/7 can be a little exhausting. Like sometimes you don't want to do that. Sometimes you don't want to have to be as vulnerable as it's needed to be to write. And so sometimes I avoid it, but it gives me life. Like, it is one of those things that I've kept a journal since I was 6 years old. And
oh, wow.
And so writing really does feed my soul. It gives me life. It helps me manage my emotions. It helps me process my feelings and my thoughts. And so I feel like writing is sort of my home base. It's the thing that I come back to over and over and over again.
Well, yes, because you've written the screenplay, you have your books. And actually, let's talk about your books. What's your book about?
My book is called Soul Smarts for Day Starts, and it's 31 activities, creative activities, that sort of help spark more play, pray, and slay in your everyday, is what I say.
Wait, say that again.
It helps spark more pray, play, and slay in your everyday.
Okay.
And so the book is a series of exercises that help people look at themselves look at their spirituality, look at their creativity. They give you a little moment each day where you can take a look at your life and yourself and say, what can I do today to sort of bring a little more joy into my life? What can I do today to bring a little bit more spiritual centeredness into my life? What can I do today to make me feel more creative and to spark joy? And so each exercise is designed to help you do that. And it's been great. I made a whole video series that goes with it, so that if you're not the kind of person who likes to read books, you can watch the video series.
So it's sort of like being like the mindfulness, like being mindful of
being mindful and being centered and grounded and sort of remembering that we're all intrinsically spiritual and creative people, whether we know it or not, whether we talk about it or not. Spirituality and the spirit of just the spirit of the universe is within all of us, and also within all of us is the ability to create and innovate and to decide what beauty is. And so this book is an opportunity to sort of explore those ideas, to explore your prayer life, to explore your creative life, to explore your art, and see what comes out of it for you.
Yeah, everyone's creative in a different way. Like, some people write, some people sing, but I even think maybe building houses is creative, because
absolutely playing sports, any of those things is still a creative outlet.
Right. And was there anyone that helped you reach any of these moments in your life that you would like to acknowledge?
So many people. I have, I knew that you were going to ask that question, and I was trying to think, how could I narrow it down? to like one person, and I can't. I have such a huge community of people who have supported me and who love me, who see my sparkle and my and co-sign on the glitter. And so
Co-sign on the glitter.
yeah, so I have a lot of really great people in my life. I will shout out my partner Kim, who is a really great support system for me, who always has my back and is always ready to sort of cheer me on in whatever my next project is.
Right. You were mentioning earlier that, so how long have you been in LA? When did you come to LA? But you're saying it was hard for you to find roles. So
Yeah.
What was that journey like when you first got, like, when did you first get here? And then how long was it until you sort of felt like you had to be creating your own stuff?
I moved here January 1st, 2015. I got off an airplane with everything I owned. I'd sold everything I'd ever owned, and I all I had left were my clothes, basically.
Okay.
And moved here with 2 big bags and some dreams, basically. I had been laid off from a job that I really liked, but I got laid off, and I had a small severance package, and I was like, I'm going to take my little severance money and move to where it's sunny. And I told everybody that I was only moving for the weather. Like, I didn't tell them that I was coming out here to pursue my creative dreams. I didn't say that.
Okay.
I just said I was moving for the sun.
You just didn't want that stress.
Yeah, and I didn't want the pressure. I didn't want to feel like, if I came out here and didn't do anything, I didn't want to feel like I was, letting people down. But I got it here January 1st, and I would say within the first 3 months of looking at casting breakdowns and notices and thinking to myself, these are terrible. Like, like casting notices that are full of stereotypes about people of color, or full of stereotypes about women, and I was just like, I don't want to be a part of this. How can I perform anyway? How can I find a way to still get out there and tell my story? And so I moved here in January. I started taking a stand-up comedy class in March, and the rest is history. The rest is, it's been the last 7 years of doing stand-up, and I loved it. I didn't get to do as much during the pandemic, so I feel like I'm just sort of getting back out there and just reestablishing myself to the level that I was at before the pandemic. But I'm still going strong with the stand-up, still loving it.
And where can we watch you perform? Do you have any shows coming up?
I just had a show at Flappers Comedy Club here in LA. I'm at Flappers a lot. Coming up in the next month is the Black Women in Comedy Festival.
Okay.
And so there's always...
Where's that? Do you know offhand?
I don't have an exact location, but I know it's in LA.
It's Black Women in Comedy.
Black Women in Comedy Festival. And I do shows, I do open mics, I do shows all the time. But I'm really looking forward to that festival. I'm looking forward to releasing the 2nd season of my podcast this fall. So there's opportunities to check me out if you want to find them.
Right. What would be your biggest tip to someone wanting to move to LA?
You need way more money than you think you do. That is my number one. Whenever people ask me about moving here and what they need to do, I'm like, I would say a couple things. One is if you are a performer, a writer, a whatever, wherever you are, wherever you live in the country, establish yourself there first. Like, stay there long enough to become the best comic in your small town, become the best comic in your region of the country, become the best singer in your area, so that when you move here, because LA is so saturated with talent, there's so many people here with so much talent that it's really hard to stand out. But if you come here and you've already made a name for yourself someplace else, it gives you a little one-up in terms of confidence. It gives you a one-up in terms of name recognition. If you're out on the road doing comedy, in other parts of the country, and then you come to LA, people think, people in LA think, oh wow, you've done the country, you've been all around the country, that looks great. And people outside of LA think, if you come from LA, oh, you're a big LA comedian, you must be brand. But I would say save a lot of money. Come here with some credits already, like stay where you are, build up your credit, build up your resume.
Have a demo reel, possibly, hopefully.
Exactly. Right. Have all that stuff set up before you come here. And then however much money you think you need, double it.
Where can we find you? Where's your Instagram? Or, give us all the details.
Sure. You can find me at NikkiBaileyComedy.com, or you can find me on all the social medias at NikkiBailey_.
Okay. And is there any last words you'd like to mention before we call it a day?
Just, let your light shine, stand up and let your light shine. I have, that like it factor, that little inner light that we all have. I call it my sparkle. And so, I just want to encourage people to sparkle on, keep sparkling.
Very good. Well, sparkle on, Nikki Bailey. Thanks so much for being here on Shout Out with Sage. I really appreciate that you gave me your time today. So
thanks for having me, Sage.
Thanks. It was great talking to you.
You too.
Okay.
Welcome to the Shout Out with Sage show. Shout Out with Sage.
Shout me out.
And that's all I gotta say. So shout out and let's go.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to Streaminn HUBB Radio. I am Sage Stevens, the host of Shout Out with Sage. And today, my guest is an R&B, pop, and hip-hop singer-songwriter who describes himself as a West Coast artist with a down south vibe. He has contributed his songwriting skills to the platinum hit No More Parties by Coi Leray, and had his own hits Had to Get It, 0 to 60, Pressure, and he is known for his distinctive flow and witty wordplay. He has been featured on the Netflix TV series Rhythm and Flow, and I would like to introduce to you today Viz, aka The Visionary.
Yes.
Hi, Viz. How are you?
Good. How are you doing? Thank you.
I'm good. I'm good. So glad you could be here today.
Yes, ma'am. Glad to be here.
Cool. And are you in LA? Are you in LA now?
Yeah, I'm in LA. I live in Hollywood. I grew up in Orange County, and then I moved out here like about a year and a half, 2 years ago, and I've been living out here since. So it was one of the best moves I could have ever made from a business standpoint, for sure.
And why is that? What was it?
I think it really comes down to like connections based. I mean, when you're in one city and you're doing something so long trying to cultivate it, it's very hard for your peers and people around you to see what you're going into because they're so stuck in seeing what you used to be.
Right.
So I found myself having to switch locations and go to another area to be able to have like a start fresh moment, but really have the opportunity to be taken very seriously because nobody knows who you are. And there is no former, oh, you were doing this, especially me coming from a sports background. Everybody wanted to see me in my city as being the athlete and strictly the athlete.
Okay.
So cities, I got a fresh start.
So you played sports. You were like, what type of sports did you play?
I grew up playing football, basketball, track, and baseball all the way up to high school. And then I played 3 sports all the way through high school. And then I played college football. And then that's when I started music, was after my sophomore year of college playing football.
Okay. And are there any similarities between music and athletics, like sports?
I would say actually, surprisingly, yes, there are a lot, in the sense that at least the way I work, I realized that once I put the same work ethic into studying film like you do in football, studying your opponent, learning the ins and outs of the game, you know, like you do in football before you go into your competition or before you play an opponent. I put that same mindset in the music, and it made me elevate way faster than a lot of my peers around me, because I was like, I can put all of this energy that I'm putting into sports in the music and not have to worry about getting injured. You know what I'm saying? Like,
So was that the reason why you made the career move?
Ultimately the career move came down to not only on top of injuries, but you know, a lot of the stories you hear of politics, and the son's cousin's friend is this guy, so he gets the opportunity more than the next man because of who he knows, not necessarily what he knows. And I saw a lot of that, and don't get me wrong, it's a lot of that in music as well, but
Right.
I learned how to navigate it and be very, like, I think it ultimately comes down to foresight and self-belief. And once I applied those things, it really started, you know, things started moving my direction. Most definitely.
And I read that, well, that you're from Orange County, but you're originally from, where were you? Like, there's somewhere else you were originally.
New Orleans, Louisiana.
Yeah,
So
that's it.
Yeah, so my family's from the South. Shout out to my mother, my brother, and my sister, all born and raised in New Orleans, Louisiana. My dad born in Chicago, raised in Little Rock, Arkansas. So I got a lot of family in the South. So, you know, they brought me out here to have a better life than they had. You know, coming from the streets and that background, it's just a lot of things that they had to overcome that they didn't necessarily want me to have to go through those hardships. So they brought me out to Cali to have, you know, a way better life than they were able to be granted. And I'm so thankful for it. You know, I tell my peers around me all the time, the only two people I really look up to are my mother and my father. You know what I'm saying? For the sacrifices that they made to help put me in the position that I'm in now. So I'm very thankful.
And does your background, like whether your family or your upbringing, does that influence your music? Like,
yeah, I think it really comes down to, like awareness and like the opportunity that I have. Like, I went to college, graduated college, one of the first black male in my family to graduate with a college degree. And you know, I realized the what's the word I'm looking for? The centerfold, the place that I held in setting a legacy for my family. I think the hardest thing, I think Tupac said this in the interview, the hardest thing for a man to do is to start a legacy for your family. And that's a lot to ask of any 20-year-old or anybody in their 20s. I'm 24, so to be so young and to be able to cultivate that for my family and show, hey, you don't have to do the traditional way.
Well, to change the path and the narrative of what's been done to create a different way of doing things. So
right, exactly. And I feel like I was able to do that. And that's the blessing of like all of this, was like the sacrifices that I made. It's just like you, for example, having even this show. All of this was cultivated off of decisions you made like 5 years ago.
Even longer.
Even longer than that. Yeah, even longer than that. To just not give up on yourself. And I feel like a lot of people give up year 4 when year 5 is going to be the one that changed their life.
Right. Well, you hear those stories all the time, like how, the person was ready to like give up acting or to move out of LA, and, they got that call for that audition. You hear those all the time.
Right.
So we were talking and you just signed. Can we talk about that? You just signed. Yeah. Okay. I didn't know. Yeah. You just signed. What did you sign? You signed something.
I just signed my first deal with APG and Mike Karen. So shout out to them. I just signed I think it's been like 6 days ago. I just signed my first deal.
Congratulations.
Writing and artistry. So it's for both, but I'm coming in mainly as a writer for the label. It's super dope and exciting. The label, the CEO, he signed Ed Sheeran before Ed Sheeran was Ed Sheeran. He signed Bruno Mars, NBA YoungBoy, and Don Toliver, and the list goes on.
Right. A lot of people.
That stamp of validation from him was, meant a lot to me, just for the time and hard work that I put in just to get to this point right now. So it was a super exciting moment. And the way I did it, the signing day, was I never got in sports, there's this thing called National Signing Day, where you sign your letter.
It's usually televised, is it not?
Yeah,
I watched it.
Televised. I never got that because I graduated high school with no scholarship offers. I had to go to a junior college and play 2 years there, but never got a D1 offer. And because I didn't get that opportunity, and my first dream was to play in the NFL. I did my signing day just like a national college football signing day. So that was really exciting for me.
Congratulations.
Thank
Well,
you.
I grew up primarily in Canada, and actually in Canada, I don't know if it's still so, but I'm pretty sure it's illegal to actually get an athletic scholarship. You can only get an academic scholarship. Yeah.
What? I
Yeah.
didn't even know that. You learn something new every day. I had
Yep.
no idea about that.
Yeah,
That's
because a
crazy.
lot of top Canadian athletes end up going to American schools because in Canada they can't do that. So I always
Right.
found that interesting.
It's
Yes.
a land of opportunity if you
Yes,
take advantage
definitely.
of it.
So with your music, I was listening to some of like your single "Better Off as Friends" and "Confessions" and "Shallow." They seem very autobiographical. Like, I mean, obviously, have you been dumped by a girl?
I mean, it's like love stories. Like
Love
it's really like
stories.
I make a lot of music in the moment. Like I never like going to the studio and being like, I gotta make a hit today. I've always been very like, whatever I'm feeling in that current moment is what I'm gonna get off. So I really take time to like really sit there and pen. And then my process started changing. I can go all the way deep into it, but just to give a rough overview, like I used to sit and really write whole records out front to back. I really stopped doing that because I started realizing, I do both, but I really started freestyling a lot of ideas and just getting them off and then going back and kind of changing lines where I wanted to change them, because I realized anytime I wrote the whole song out, by the time I rehearsed it over and over and over again in my head and then started coming out with the record to record it, it was like it never translated because the energy that I was feeling when I first heard the beat and was excited, now I've
Yeah,
rehearsed it.
you worked it too much. Like
Yeah,
you just
worked too many times where by the time you hear the beat and you start recording it, it's like it doesn't translate the same way. So I started really going listening to
I
beats.
do that. I do that. I don't like rehearse when I act. When I acted, I didn't like rehearsing too much, especially if it was something really emotional. Just sort of like walk through it, but not like putting all that emotion out. You only have so much energy to do that.
Right, exactly. So once I started doing it that way, I saw the benefits of it, and it started making more organic, sounds, and me being like, oh, once you're so tied to the first thing you write, if you're freestyling it, you're not so tied to the whatever line you say, you'll be willing to adjust it. But by the time
you're a bit more improvisational.
Yeah, improv, exactly. Improv.
Not that I can pronounce that word today. So in another one of your songs, you're talking about trauma. Have you experienced trauma in your own life?
Yeah, I've had, unfortunately, like a lot of people within our community, you know what I'm saying, as a whole, it's a lot of, from, police brutality and family members, passing due to, street life and things of that nature. It's a lot. And I've been to too many funerals, more than I should be able to count.
Yes.
So, I definitely think there's a lot of, psychological and mental trauma that comes with that. But I think the freedom of expression in the art form of music is so, what's the word I'm looking for? Like intrinsic, like upon living it, going through it, and then having an outlet to go back to within the music and be like, okay, I can get it off in this way instead of, resorting to, some of the bad things that people tend to resort to when they're in that type of mental.
You find it an emotional release that you can release, maybe because you're writing about it, you're releasing some of your anger, or sorrow, or whatever emotions you're feeling about the situation. So at least you're expressing it. You're not keeping it all bottled up. So
and that's where I really like. And then I like to read a lot of books. Like I'm very big on like, manifestation and law of attraction and things that you speak into the universe, you attract back to you. So, I read like, the 4 Agreements by Don Ruiz, and, The Secret by Rhonda Burns, and Deepak Chopra, 7 Spiritual Laws of Success. So things like that, those things really stick with me, and those things are really, like a guideline or a path that have led me to, thinking in the right way. So I don't really delve too deep into the negative, and I really focus on the positives I can get even out of the negative situation.
Right. Do you have a ritual then when it comes to your writing or your song, making a song?
I don't try to spend too much time on a beat. So if I feel like the words are not instantly coming to me, making a song is the best feeling you can ever feel in life. You can assume what I'm getting at, but like it's a better feeling. Yeah, it's a better feeling than anything. It's like it's euphoric, and sometimes when you hear a beat, if the words don't come to you instantly, I feel like most of the time it's not really the one. It should be it should feel natural. It should feel like you're not even trying to search for words. It should feel like the words are coming from somewhere else, and that's where I realize my best songs come from, or songs that I'm not trying to make the song. The song
Well,
makes me.
they say that about relationships. They say that if you're having to work too hard at the relationship, then maybe it's not the right relationship
Right.
for you.
Exactly.
I mean, obviously you have to work and put time into it, but like it shouldn't be a constant day in, day out struggle. Like you should have some easy
Right,
moments.
100%. 100%. And trust, I mean, you can hear from the music. I'm still, learning and going through trials and tribulations within on that front. But I think it just comes down to like a never ending want to be successful and be great, and me sacrificing a lot of time from putting into, relationships or things that, certain or vast majority of people put into feeling happy or feeling fulfilled. I sacrificed a lot of that due to just chasing this one thing. Because once I felt that failure that I had in football, where I didn't make it to the NFL like I wanted to, it was a never ending like poke at myself to be like, I have to achieve this in music because I refuse to feel that feeling again. And that was the driving force. So I think it's a never ending, I think my team, my manager and all of them, they always tell me like, dude, once you achieve that next thing, what's going to be the next thing to get you? But I'm like, I think it's just constantly.
Well, you should. There was that guy on, I don't know if it's TikTok or Instagram, but there's an African-American man, and I don't know who he is, but he's won some award, and he's like, what does he say? He says, the top of one mountain is the bottom of the next one.
Yeah. Earl Thomas.
Yeah, maybe, I don't know, but I just thought that was like his whole speech is very inspirational and sweet, and yeah, it's like something to definitely think about. That, yeah, it's like even for myself, I reach certain goals, and then I'm like, oh God, now what? Like now what?
Right, exactly. You find this like halt. You're like, what's the next thing now?
Right.
I had somebody tell me this, and I definitely agree with this statement. Most people say the definition of happiness is like doing what you love and being, living off of doing what you love. I found that the definition of happiness really is always having something to look forward to. I really think that's what the definition of happiness is. Because even that statement in itself of making a living off doing what you love, that's still looking forward to doing something.
Right.
So I think having something to look forward to is really what the definition of happiness is. And the moment that stops is when, things go haywire.
Well, yes. What are you working on now? Do you have a new album coming out, new singles, or what should we be looking for?
Yeah, so I'm working on my singles right now. I have a single that I'm looking forward to dropping. We haven't figured out the exact release date yet, but I have the video shot for it already. So I'm super excited with that. The label likes that video as well. So I'm looking forward to dropping that as well with my team. And then I'm working on a lot of different artist projects right now currently. For disclosure purposes, I won't necessarily say.
Yeah, I understand you.
But I'm working with a lot of big artists, and we're working on some albums that, hopefully to shake the world up. And then, I'm working on a lot of big stuff coming in the next year. So I'm really excited about that. Just to name a few things, just not to get too into the individuals, but like I've been working on the soundtrack for Fast and Furious 10.
Oh, wow.
Like for a
They're
while.
Still going.
Yeah, the movie's supposed to release soon. So I'm very close friends with Vin Diesel. Vin Diesel and I have formed a really, really good relationship. So he's definitely like an older brother figure to me. I went over to his house like 3 days ago. He invited me over.
Okay, awesome.
Congratulations for my signing day, and I gave him one of my hats that I wore on my signing day. So he's definitely a really big influence to me. So shout out to him and my guy David as well, his partner. Just very good people that really believe in me, and that's what I'm really about. Is just all of this has been formed off self-belief, and it's crazy because it's like you go from people you used to not even necessarily look up to, because I don't really look up to nobody, but like I said, my parents, but like just people you like once were like, oh, I may not ever see them anywhere outside of just a television screen or a phone, or
Right.
where you're like rubbing shoulders with them and they're like, yo, they really know who you are and they respect what you do and they appreciate what you do and what you bring to the table. So that's like, it's just crazy. Just if God had told me that this was gonna be my life years ago, I was like, I don't really,
Someone's playing with me. Yeah, it's a joke.
Right. But we make plans and God laughs. That's what they say.
Exactly. Is there anyone else you would like to give some shout outs to that have helped you reach the point where you're at right now?
Oh yeah, absolutely. It's a million and one to count. But first and foremost, my mother and father, I'm gonna keep reiterating that. The long nights and talks we used to have about achieving these things that seemed so far away at the time period, but them putting a battery in my back to continue to push forward. My manager was an amazing guy. He's connected me with a lot of people. He's actually the one that connected me with Vin and his team. So shout out to him. Such a great dude. He's going to be with me the duration of my career. So you're going to be hearing
Alfredo.
Yes.
Yeah.
Hearing a lot. Shout out to my lawyer, Chris Cabot. He negotiated my deal, and he's been a guy that really, any time of night, he works with some of the biggest athletes in the game and entertainers. Patrick Mahomes is one of his main clients, the quarterback for the Kansas City Chiefs, and he's a guy I can call at any time. And he may be with Patrick at one moment, but he calling me like, "Yo, Viz, what do you need done?" So I really appreciate him. Who else? My brother, my sister, my lady.
There's a lot, right? You have a big team of people that help you. How important is having support, like having a network of people around you, to like a team? Like you mentioned a lawyer. I know a lot of new people that are singers or actors or creatives. They don't realize how important having that team is. Do you want to comment on that?
Yeah, I'm glad you said that. I think the ego in all of us wants to flex and pump our chest that we did this all by ourselves. But when you get behind the scenes,
it's not even possible.
It's not possible. And when you get behind the scenes in the industry, and then you realize, that talent he's very talented, or he or she is very talented, but there's the marketing team that's just as responsible. There's the people that's running the socials. There's the camera person that took that right photo at that right angle. There's so many things media outlets, even yourself, media outlets that are allowing us to have the platform and putting us on your platform to share, to get ourselves out to an audience we may not have been hit otherwise. It's very collaborative. You know what I'm saying? And I think the more I learned of that side, it came down to like, the more we start looking at things as a melting pot and how we can all add to it, is where everyone's going to receive the fruits of the labor. It's like watering a plant. You know what I'm saying? So, in the moment everyone starts trying to water their own plant, there's only going to be one that ultimately ends up growing out of all of these. If we just focused on watering one at a time, we'll have a whole forest. You know what I'm saying? Right. So I kind of started looking at things like that and planting seeds. And the team is so vital. Like, I can't express that enough. So I'm really glad you said it, a team, and putting people in position, because you can have a team, but not everyone may know their role. So it's just as important as being the leader in my position, to put the people around me in position and let them know what their role is and tell them what I need them to get done, and holding each other accountable. I should be held accountable just as much as the next man. Right. So it's really about holding each other accountable and formulating, just making sure everybody around you has the same belief that you have and where you're trying to take it. Because if you don't express to them where you're trying to take something or your vision, then there's nowhere for them to follow. It's going to be kind of like running in circles.
No, that's really good. Thanks for mentioning that, because I just find like a lot of people, especially when they're starting out, they think they can do it all by themselves, or they don't need other people to help them. And there's no way. It doesn't matter what industry you're in, you can't do it by yourself. So
I also want to shout out my guys, Troy Beatles and Nate Michelle, goes by Kid Crazy, and those two guys, they really believed in me when I was first coming in. And you know, I had gone through a period of time where I was transitioning, where the people I was working with, you know, were moving really funny, and I had just moved to LA, so at that time I had to figure out a whole start from
Can you
scratch.
elaborate on working funny just a little bit? You don't have to get into like real
Yeah,
deep
I
details.
had put, you know, I had put guys that at one point, you know, I would have went all the way for it. You know what I'm saying? Took a bullet for it, and they, you know, did some very foul behind the back,
Mm.
foul business practices, and took it the mile. And you know, I really put those guys in position to be very successful, and they took the 5 minutes of success instead of the 15 minutes,
Mm.
and they ran with the 5 minutes, and now they're regretting that because they didn't get the 15.
Right.
So at the end of the day, yeah, those guys, you know, they know who they are. Maybe they
Yeah,
will
we
run.
don't have to get into all that. I just sort of like to talk about the good points and the bad points of things, and you know,
It was
just
learning lessons.
yeah, learning lessons, right? And what other lessons have you learned? What would be your biggest tip to someone that was wanting to be a musician?
I reiterate this point a lot. I say self-belief. I'm not just talking about like, oh, like I believe in myself. Like I'm even having that's why I'm looking to the side. I'm having flashbacks in my head. Like
Right. Well, you're visually remembering things. Yes.
it's a lot of nights where you're gonna be your only fan. You're gonna be your biggest fan for a long time, and then no one's gonna get it. No one's gonna understand. You're gonna show people things, and you know,
You'll
I
be
got
like, "What's this? I don't
yeah,
understand."
they're not gonna get it. And in that, there's gonna come a crossroads, even with yourself, where that level of success that you feel like you're able to obtain is about to be like this close, and everything you ever wanted is like right behind this wall. And you've been chipping at that block, you've been chipping at those roadblocks for so long, you're gonna finally hit that last one. And you don't even realize everything you want is right behind that last brick. But you turn back. It's just like that 4 years to 5 years. You know, I look back when I first came out to LA. I was homeless for 6 months.
Oh wow.
I was homeless for 6 months. I slept couch to couch. Luckily, a close friend of mine, and shout out to him as well, my guy TH, his name's Tanner. He was staying in a crib. He had just moved out here to LA from Riverside. He was staying in a crib with 10 people in it, and we used to sleep on the kitchen floor with a washcloth as a pillow. And if we were lucky, we would get a sleeping bag that was laying around here or there, or you know, roaches, ants crawling all over us, all over the place. But we knew that it was a temporary sacrifice for the long term that we were going towards. Right. It's crazy. He had a recording set up in his, you know, little mic and just something we could record in his, you know, in the living room set up. And I remember the first song we ever created together was called Dreams to Fruition. So it's very ironic that X amount of time later, he signed now as a producer with Universal, and I have just signed my first deal. And it all, we think back of that like, wow.
Yes. When you think back on the rough times, it's always wow. So it's always like to see how far you've come, even when you think you're not there yet, but you need to also recognize how far you've already come forth in the journey. So
right. It's like being appreciative. And just slowing down sometimes. Like I find myself like trying to find that balance. I tell my guys all the time, I'm very, you know, always want to get the next thing, but really being appreciative. Like, wow, the fact that I've achieved with what, shoot, you know, LA is.
Yeah, LA is no joke.
Live or die, like, you know what I'm saying. And I've been out here I came out here early 2021, late 2020, very early 2021. It was like the border, like January.
Okay.
And within a year and a half now, I signed my first deal. So it's just like,
that's amazing. That's not really, but you've been doing it a while, so it wasn't like you haven't been, you know, it wasn't like you just started.
Right.
But, and where can we find you on the internet? Give us your handles on Instagram and all that.
Social media, on Instagram, it's gonna be kind of long, but my Instagram is Young Visionary, YXNGVIZIONARY. So Young Visionary, visionary spelled with a Z, and then Young with an X instead of an OU. So yeah, that's my Instagram as well as my TikTok. I do a lot of advice forums on TikTok. I do freestyle videos I post as well. And I give back to the community. You know what I'm saying? I give a lot of advice to artists of things I've learned in this process as I've gone through it to, you know, help people sift through all the, you know, the weird stuff that goes on in the industry and be able to get to this place even faster and skip, you know, things that I had to necessarily go through that I wouldn't wish upon anybody. You know what I'm saying? Get to, you know, where they want to go faster. So
Exactly.
and
Okay.
I'm very grateful for you having me as well. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Yes. Okay. It was so great to have you as well. And thanks for your patience with a few of the issues that we had. Sorry.
Nah, yeah, no worries.
So, well, thanks. And thanks, Viz, for being on Shout Out with Sage. And we will see you or listen to you soon. So,
Yes, ma'am. Also, praise to the Most High, God.
Thank you. Have a great day. Stay cool. It's hot out
You as
there.
well. God bless.
Okay. Same to you. Bye. Thanks, everyone, for joining us today on Shout Out with Sage.
Welcome to the Shout Out with Sage show. Shout Out with Sage.
Shout me out.
And that's all I gotta say. So shout out and let's go.